spur of the moment trip, I decided I was going to go drive to LA, and I was going to confront Sabrina on all of this. It was a really stupid plan, but I was fed up. I was frustrated. I was tired. I left Alwazelle. I had $10,000 saved up. I spent most of it at Motel 6, waiting for, I was thinking Sabrina was going to show up. It's like the 5-year mark or something like that. I thought we should have been over. I don't know why it even had any continuation of extending. I was going to confront her on this issue, and it was really stupid. I thought that I would, because this is bold to me, doing all of this under all of this hidden agenda. So I thought maybe it needed to be matched with the bold move. So I was going to drive to LA, and I was going to confront her at one of her jobs, which would have been really stupid. And I was like, well, let's get the cops called. Let's do it all. I just want to end whatever the heck this is. Thank God I didn't. I drove to LA. I was going to stay at, I had a hotel I was going to stay at. When I got there, it looked really sketchy. So I was taking a drive to another hotel that was by like LAX, and I wanted to kind of at least be within the vicinity that I knew what her job was at. I wasn't going to be mean. I just wanted to confront this person to person, like, hey, what is up? What are we doing? How are we? I'm tired of this. Of course, the entire drive there, I was having chakra pulls and all that stuff. Sabrina or somebody was giving me saying, don't do this, don't do this, and I just did it anyways. And so from Slary, this is Central California, to LA is like 3-hour drive, 3.5, depending on where you're going. By the time I was getting to the other hotel by LAX, I decided not to do it, and I talked myself out of it. Got back on the 405 freeway and started crying. Like I couldn't believe that that this was going on, and that I couldn't even muster up the strength to do something about it. And I thought it was just horrible. So anyways, after spending all that money I'd saved up working at Alwazelle, blew it all in the room, had like a couple $1,000s left, drove to LA, didn't do anything, came back, I did all that, and then I ended up back in my car, just sleeping in it right there. All I'm really doing over here is, this is Panda Express right here, and I spent a lot of time in front of Panda Express panhandling. There's a Supercuts right there, Panda Express right there, and I would sit here and I'd ask for money. I would often get food too, because you're by Panda Express. People would say, hey, are you hungry? I could get more than enough money and more than enough food most of the time, except just during this time I also couldn't eat a lot too, so it kind of bummed me out that there was all this food that could kind of come my way, but I was starting to have some problems eating. I would sit right there with my bags and would panhandle there. I would do it during the busy times, lunch rushes, that stuff. Come here and get my money, get some food, and then head out. This Supercuts. I would get my haircut there all the time when I worked, and when I did jobs, and I had an opportunity to routinely take care of myself. An interesting story about Supercuts is everybody knew. This is why everybody knew, and there wasn't much I could do or say about it. I just had to roll with the punches, so to speak, with it. Anyway, so an interesting thing that happened there one time, I was getting my hair cut, was the lady in there was talking about like some beans, some like refried bean thing. If you're familiar with the euphemism and sexual innuendo of women and the beans, and I knew she was referring about me and my story. She goes, I had some beans the other day, and there was, I thought, she goes, it was, I can't remember how the story went, but she totally made this whole thing about being this big. She goes, oh, I thought it was going to be just one bean or two beans or a small amount of beans. No, it was a big old platter of beans. What she was saying is basically the story that I lived out and paid a price for, that this thing took on multiple women, and if you get the window with beans, she was basically relaying to me how I thought it was just going to be one or two beans, and it ended up being a plethora of beans, and there was a time where it was, and it was very explicit and explosive. I'm not going to say much about it, but there was a lot of people that came and went, and I don't know how many stuck around, how many wished, how many it would have been just a joke on, but yeah, there was a lot that happened at that time. I didn't know that was going to be a thing. Of course, a little bit's my fault too as well. You know, I didn't realize that's what was happening here, and that's why I paid this amount of a price. That is something definitely we need to understand in translation to this thing, and in today's culture, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's very understandable, but it could be something that a particular set of people or a group of people might want to explore, and that's fine. But that's also why they talk about it in biblical sense too. There is a translation about controlling it, and there's also biblical passages where it talks about how it got out of control. With women there, it becomes a difficult thing. So that's what happens there, and so we lived through that, and I paid the price for that. And I didn't. There was a time where I thought, well, hey, was this something we're gonna do? You know, as a guy, I'm thinking. As a guy, I'm trying to figure out. Honestly, I had plans on like trying to figure out how we could make this work with more than one. If there's love in the heart and everyone's wanting and willing, you know, you can make it happen. You know, you legally could only, in California, you could only marry one person, but that's where like mistresses and that kind of stuff, but it would have been live-in, and it would have been for love. There's an actual biological thing that goes along with that expression, but that's what happened to me. So, okay, bye.